see how it does get evolved in your situation. You're using it to utilize to lose weight, and you're getting all these compliments about it. Of course, like you know, it might help you get a gig or whatever if you're on your auditions as well. So like you're feeling like it's something that's actually helpful and good in your life, right? Was that the kind of perception you had, or like where was it? Was it ups and downs with it?
No, absolutely. It was something that was always doing me beneficial, being beneficial to me, for me. I had been around alcohol since, utero, and I've never seen any positive outcomes coming from drinking ever. And yet here I am having positive outcomes with this illicit substance, which was kind of a real big disconnect for my brain because, well, it's not as bad as everyone says it is. And yet drinking, I know is bad, but no one talks about it. And then you also got tobacco, which we all know is bad and it's killing us, but, we tax it, so we need it. It's all this hypocrisy and I guess the messages that were sort of mixed from health class, from parents, peers, and sort of just really, you get to a point where I was like, you know what, for it, I'm just going to do what I want to do and get the auditions I want to get and do my own thing.
Welcome to the Queer Quest podcast, your beacon of light and sprinkle of glitter in the queer community. I'm your host, Christiana Green, CEO and founder of Queer Quest and a transformation coach for queer individuals. And together, we're embarking on a journey of transformation. Each week, we bring you a new training topic or connect you with visionary queer leaders in healing and coaching, diving deep into conversations that inspire growth, celebrate diversity, and empower you to live authentically. So wherever you are, settle in and let's get ready to unlock the vibrant potential within. This is where your quest begins. Hello, you fabulous souls, and welcome to this week's episode of the Queer Quest podcast. I'm your host, Christiana Green, the CEO and founder of Queer Quest. And this week on the podcast, we have a special guest talking today. We have Will Ryan. Welcome, Will.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming on. I'm kind of excited and nervous to be discussing the topic that we have today. And full disclosure, we're talking about drug use and trying to, have a discussion about, it within the queer community. And we're also discussing it from different perspectives that we both had through our own experiences. So just wanting to note before we get into it that this could be a little bit triggering for anyone out there. Maybe you've been through it yourself, maybe you know someone, but just know that we're having an open discussion here today to try to, really bring light to certain things that happen to certain people in our community. And it's not an uncommon story. So yes, if you want to jump on board with us today, we look forward for you to going into it. But I honor Will for being brave enough to come on here and share his story with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. But before we go further, I just want to say that if you are feeling triggered or you are needing to talk to someone, you have www.yourroom.org. That is a drug users peer-run health website that is actually with the live chat feed as well. And don't forget, you can also go to acon.org.au and any of those kinds of places. Don't suffer in silence. Always get it out of your head because it will just bore away otherwise.
Beautiful. Thanks for adding that in there, Will. There's so many resources out there. And yes, good to share a few of them today. So I'd love to go back however many years this was for you, Will. Let's talk about, your journey coming into and starting to utilize drugs. Where did you first get introduced to it? Like, give us a bit of a backstory for you.
Okay, let's go back a little bit further. I was in high school and I was a fat ginger kid on the Gold Coast, which did not fit in at all. Then you add homosexual on top of it, made it even worse. Then add smart ass on top of that. God, I really was in for a fun time there. And then I danced as well. So I was always kind of outgoing and pushing the envelope. But drugs didn't really hit me until I turned 18. I knew drugs existed and I had smoked the odd joint, but I never had actually experienced ecstasy or methamphetamine or GHB or anything like that. It was just, pure innocence, and went to a dance party with a friend, and I tried my first ecstasy pill, and that was a really, really fun time. And for those of you who are old enough to remember, ecstasy was a very fun time, and I'm sorry that's not here anymore, but I digress. So after that, I was still auditioning and dancing and touring and all that kind of stuff. So I was incredibly fit as well, and with my head screwed on and going to auditions nearly every week. And then I started to sort of really flag with my energy levels, just like started getting tired a lot more. And before I knew it, I was 23 and still auditioning, and I was still just like started getting more and more tired because I'm just getting older. And then I also started. That was when I sort of met meth, I guess, crystal methamphetamine. Those of you who don't know, crystal methamphetamine is a derivative of speed. Speed being a stimulant, so everything goes super duper quick. Fun fact, though, if you use methamphetamine with someone with ADHD, you will actually balance them out and make them quite mellow. So that's why we have things like lisdexamphetamine on the market to help with people with ADHD. However, my thing with meth was a lot of energy and a lot of weight loss, which is where I kind of struggled for most of my existence with fluctuating weight, up and down, up and down. I was a bulimic. Well, I still am, I guess, but I just don't vomit anymore.
Yeah.
And that's hard. And then you sort of see the weight fall off you, and then you think, wow, it's working. And then you get told by casting directors or people you dance with, wow, you look amazing. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Mm-hmm. That reinforces the bad behavior, so to speak. And then from that, it was just a spiral downward, just hard partying. And there is a bit more to it than that. That was just really how I sort of came to the scene, I guess.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you being honest and sharing that. And of course, we'll pull out what we need to pull out. And so you started, which a lot of people can probably relate to. You went to a party, especially being in the queer community, because it's a lot more accessible in our community. It's something that so many of us use. If you go out partying, you will know someone who's using, or you'll plenty of people out there. So it's not an uncommon thing, and that's kind of how it started for me when I first started. Was I started going out and I would only drink, and then I would be around friends who would take it, and I'd be like, I'd get curious about it, and I said yes. And then from that point on, it was like, yeah, I'll try this. And then, oh, yeah, I'll try that. And then you're doing it every single weekend. And then it becomes a multiple times a week kind of thing because you're going out more or whatever happens, with friends and all that stuff. So I can see how it does get evolved in your situation. You're using it to utilize to lose weight, and you're getting all these compliments about it. Of course, like, it might help you get a gig or whatever if you're on your auditions as well. So, like, you're feeling like it's something that's actually helpful and good in your life, right? Was that the kind of perception you had, or like, where was it? Was it ups and downs with it?
No, absolutely. It was something that was always doing me beneficial, being beneficial to me, for me. I had been around alcohol since, utero, and I've never seen any positive outcomes coming from drinking ever. And yet here I am having positive outcomes with this illicit substance, which was kind of a real big disconnect for my brain because, well, it's not as bad as everyone says it is. And yet drinking, I know is bad, but no one talks about it. And then you also got tobacco, which we all know is bad and it's killing us, but, we tax it, so we need it. It's all this hypocrisy and I guess the messages that were sort of mixed from health class, from parents, peers, and sort of just really, you get to a point where I was like, you know what, over it, I'm just going to do what I want to do and get the auditions I want to get and do my own thing. And then it was good for a while.
How long is a while? Is it years? Like, because like that, I can sense that for my own experience, especially when I was out partying, there was a number of years where I enjoyed it and I didn't see anything wrong with it. But then as you get older, things change, your life changes, and situations change. So, like, how long did it take for things to start changing for you?
Like, I guess you're right. When you get older, your priorities change and your outlook changes. And for me, it started to go a bit more of a, what am I doing with my life kind of thing at about age 27 when I moved to Sydney. So I actually left the Gold Coast where I was living with my family and came to Sydney. I had no money. I was staying in my car. I had absolutely nothing, but I was in a new place. And I thought, you know what, let's just make a good go of it. And then it didn't take me long to find some. And then it didn't take long to find the men that came with it, and the parties and the fun times, and then also the not so fun times, which, get into a bit later. But it took a while. I was expecting my life as per media to unravel within 2 years of having drugs, but it didn't. I maintained 3 jobs at one point, and as well as doing working and doing drag and dancing and all these other things I had a relationship as well in there. So I was maintaining everything and keeping many balls in the
very
air.
Functioning kind of drug user, right? I'm not necessarily going to call you an addict, because you'll define that for yourself if you saw yourself as that, but a drug user, you were very much functioning, right?
Absolutely. And I think with that, there is a part of that is almost, and I don't want to say this because it might, if it upsets people, that's fine. Just because you're offended doesn't make you right, just makes you offended. But being a high functioning quote unquote drug addict or drug user or whatever you want to call, it's almost an illusion that you don't have, you're not behind the wheel. You're a passenger. You think you're behind the wheel, but you're actually not. And this is one thing I had to realize when things went from bad to catastrophe a couple of years into my life here in Sydney. And with that came a whole new perspective, whole new outlook, and my first shot at clean time from that. Which clean time, you're not aware, you can either go to a residential rehab, detox, you can go to 12-step meetings, which are very beneficial based on the text from AA or Alcoholics Anonymous from 1923. It needs to be updated, not going to go into that. And then you've also got CBT or cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yep.
That was, I found personally, one of the most satisfying sort of treatments to get behind, simply because it was just tangible. It was graspable. It was realistic and, okay, this is real. I can do this. It's not putting my faith in a higher power, because I'm just not that guy. And unfortunately,
you're more practical and logical than spiritual and elemental, or whatever they want to call, however people see it, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay. And that's the good thing about life, is everyone has a different outlook. And as you said, you've got to find the right thing for you. There is more than one way to help someone who's struggling with addictions or substance abuse or whatever, people class it as, or for themselves. It's so different for each individual. And so was it always meth? Is that the kind of the one that you would say has always been the one that you struggled with? Or is it like a combination of different things?
Yeah, I'm what they call a polydrug user. That is more than one substance at one time. In particular, I'm sure it won't be a surprise for anyone listening that as a gay man, it would be meth and GHB.
I was assuming those ones, but I didn't want to say it myself.
No, it's fine. And the thing is, it's a very interesting thing in my relationship with GHB. That overtakes more than meth in my mind. I would prefer to have GHB than meth, which is a bit of a, old and controversial thing to say a year ago. Because
that was always my one. I never really.
Oh my God!
I never really liked meth. There was never something that I personally I've definitely tried all things, and I've done it multiple times. But it was never one that I felt like it didn't do it for me. But I loved the feeling of it when I was when I was in those places and states at that time, for sure.
Yeah, it was, because again, being so overly critical of myself and being in industries where people are overly critical of me, where you might not get your job from the audition because you don't know, they don't tell you, you're either too short, you're too tall, you're too white, there's always something that they don't tell you. So that's really dangerous for someone who is not exactly the highest self-esteem or self-image, and then put something in their hand that makes them not only forget about that, but makes them feel good about themselves.
Invincible in some states, right? Yeah.
I felt attracted. For the first time in my life, I actually felt like I was attractive and people were looking at me and it was nice to be looked at. And that's really sad that I needed a drug to do that. I should be able to do that for myself because I don't believe I'm that bad looking. My attitude sucks, but other than that, like, I know I'm a good person.
You can always work on your attitude too, so you can shift that if you want to.
Well, this is what I'm doing here, my friend. But, you know, and my two brothers, just for a bit of context, were Adonises. They were everything that men were meant to be. Women wanted them, boys wanted to be them, and I was the Danny Manogue in that situation. I was there, but no one really noticed. I was the fat ginger kid.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I'm being noticed and being invited to parties, and I wanted to keep that confidence going. But with all masks, eventually it starts to slip. You take a little too much, G, or you push yourself in a situation where you're not in control, or worse, you put yourself in a situation where an ambulance is called. Now, I am lucky that I've not needed that. I just knocked on wood, everybody.
I've been to hospital 6 times from overdosing on gay. Yeah. So I know this. I know how bad it can get, and I also know that you can go to hospital and leave and get right back out there because you're in this. I don't know. You get caught up in the world of that life that it can be. Yeah. So I've been there, and I had to go through it so many times to learn my lesson. So no judgment here.
Oh, that's actually something I could learn from you because I have seen it because I've worked in the clinical setting of drug use. So I worked at the safe injection rooms at King's Cross. I worked with NUA, a fantastic New South Wales Youth of the AIDS Association, which is the needle swap programs around the state. So I worked with drug use organizations. So I've seen all these things happen, but I've not experienced them. I've not experienced going to hospital from drug usage. My partner had, and I was with him and advocating for him, but I had never been in that situation. So I just thank you for sharing. That's really that's actually kind of floored me actually.
I know people don't suspect that people have a past, right? And I have a very I don't know, glorious and horrifying past. However you want to, whatever side of the story you want to look at,
But the same side of the coin. It's just, one person's, one person's pornographer is another person's spiritual leader. It's context. It's what we see. However, again, thank you for sharing. That's really just made me feel very, very relaxed. Going to hospital, and yes, absolutely, you can survive those situations. They may be traumatic. They may be full of, stigmatization and discrimination, and you will just have to wear it, unfortunately. But then, it doesn't always have to be that way, and it
doesn't always have to be that way. And I think the reason why it happens so many times is because of there wasn't a shame around it. I knew so many people on the scene at the time who had been to hospital for overdosing. It didn't seem like a big deal. It was like a whoopsie, you've done too much, take care of yourself next time. And then, unfortunately, it didn't learn the lesson the first time. But I never got someone going, "You're an idiot, what are you doing?" It was all like, "Oh, babe, how you doing? Come on, let's go out, let's forget about it, let's have some fun.
It's a man, come on, I forget."
Exactly. It was just always everyone taking care of each other, because I think people came from a place of it's not that bad, it's not that big of a deal, so yeah.
But I think that's indicative of our generation. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, it's just a different state of affairs. The generation coming up now aren't despite having more education available to them at their fingertips, aren't as educated about drugs as we are. And no shame to the younger generation, absolutely not. Y'all are doing...
There's also a lot more judgment from people who are younger now, because I remember hearing seeing something happen, I don't know how many, it was maybe 5 or so years ago, where someone did go to hospital, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, that's disgusting. That's gross." And I was like, it was just a vastly different perspective of my days 10, 15 years ago, like going, "Oh girl, she'll be fine. We'll pick her up soon." Da 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 da. It was just a very different perspective. And like I said, no right or wrong as to how people see it, but it's, I think, generational of like how people are brought up to see things and what what is that, you know?
I gotta disagree with you on that. Like, there is definitely a right and wrong. Whether you agree with that person's decisions to party or whatever is beside the point. On that gurney being taken to the hospital is a person who is 100%, and this is true, a human who makes mistakes and does things different, does things wrong, doesn't make them bad, but judging them puts that stigma out there and makes it okay in your mind to validate that stigma because, well, you're the one still standing at the bar and good for you. And you know what? Fine. If that's what makes you happy, that's fine. However, when someone really close to you ends up dropping, are you going to know what to do? Are you going to be sure that they're going to be all right? And would you be there? And I would hope that any of those questions out there would make you stop and think, oh, well, maybe, yeah, I should, you know. And it doesn't take much to be a good human. Overdose deaths are 100% preventable. It's so easy to keep someone alive. Believe me, very easy to keep someone alive. But to keep them down, and not even keep them down, but when they're conscious, you keep them under. That's cruel. And I know life's not fair and all that, bear me. Life is cruel with that mindset mentality. Life is not about me. It is about we, us. And whether we like it or not, comrades in the LGBTQIA plus community, we are all each other's brothers, sisters, in-betweeners, and overbearers. So we need to actually sort of come back together and bring some community back and some unity into it. Because right now, the us and them, it's been done, and we didn't do it very well, and it's just not nice. And frankly, the world has been shit enough to us and our community for so long. Let's not give them a hand. Let's change that.
I hear you, and I understand completely where you're coming from. I do agree. I also think that, you know, it comes down to education and being able to give people the right information about. You can't look at someone and know where they've been, how they walked, their journey, and through someone's, you know, bad moment right now, it shouldn't be like the way that you see them. But unfortunately, the way that the world works is often, you know, first impressions count sometimes. But regardless of that, what I'm trying to get at is that the importance of education is important. Like, you know, it's not about the person isn't the problem. It's sometimes, you know, you've got to look at it as on a broader situation in a sense of it isn't, you can't blame the person. Talk about the crime, you know? The crime is their
circumstance. Yeah. I think absolutely you've hit it smack bang on the head. And I'll tell you this, education is definitely a big part of it. When I came out to my parents that I am a crystal meth addict, my mum was overjoyed because she was so worried I was actually addicted to ice. But to be addicted to crystal meth, thank God. Then I had to break it to her that they are the same thing. So there is no education. What is out there is currently just hate and smear campaigns that are used to scare people and not actually educate them. Now, also, another apropos of nothing, when I was working at the safe injection rooms and I was working with a lot of the vulnerable people out there in King's Cross and some of the most amazing, brilliant people, unfortunately, have been given the rawest deal in life and find their way in our service. And I'm so glad they do. And anybody listening who is at the M6 service, the King's Cross, much love to you all. So those people who are so vulnerable and so looked through and looked down on because society is uneducated about how this happened to them. We assume that they're homeless or whatever because they've done something wrong. And sometimes that's not the case. couple of the clients we had there were homeless due to DV or domestic violence. Some ran away. So there's all these other
Got kicked out from their families who didn't accept who they are as queer people.
boom, boom.
That's a huge,
Yep.
big problem in our community as well, right? So yeah, definitely hear what you're saying.
I think it just tends to be a bit more open-mindedness when we come to seeing someone who is partied maybe a little too hard or is maybe just having a bit too much of a festive time and you don't quite understand it. And that's cool. You don't have to understand it. If you're out with your mates, be out with your mates. Don't look down your nose at everyone else. And you know what? Get yourself educated. And let me clarify. When I say get yourself educated, take a CPR course. Any kind of quick over-the-counter weekend medical course where you can actually get the tools to save a person's life. Not just someone who does drugs, but anyone's life. It's my certificate for CPR has become invaluable. I've actually helped 3 people stay alive, not from drugs. So but I know that if drugs were a factor, I could actually handle that because I'm educated about it. And, it's a really lonely world. And this is actually where I went on a big tangent there. You said before that our community, we're kicked out from our homes and stuff, but that is a cause. Notice that, and the symptom is using drugs. We self-medicate because we're neglected by our families. This is just one case, my case in particular.
Definitely.
And when you feel that neglect, that abandonment, you do what you can to make yourself feel better. You go and, meet men and have sex just to feel validated, or you go and take drugs to feel anything other than sad, alone. And then it works for a time, and then you come back down to reality and it comes screaming back in both ears. You've got to deal with this now, and it gets worse if you don't. And the thing is, we spend so long trying to treat the symptom, but not treat the cause. Fixing a hemorrhage with a haircut, it's not working that way. We need to take a holistic view, and again, realize that the people in front of us that are using drugs, who are your friends or your family or whatever, are people. And only one of you in that situation is judging the other one. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, and I hear you there, and that's a good place for us to have a ponder. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back and continuing this story in just a moment. In a world where every journey is unique, one path shines brightly for the queer community. Introducing QueerQuest, the first of its kind personal development platform designed exclusively for us, by us. At QueerQuest, we understand the multifaceted journey of queer identity. That's why we've created a space where you can explore, learn, and grow with the guidance of queer experts from around the globe. Whether you're seeking to enhance your physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual well-being, QueerQuest is your gateway to transformation. Imagine embarking on quests tailored to your journey of self-discovery, finding community, and unlocking your queer excellence. QueerQuest offers online courses, coaching programs, and soon workshops, seminars, retreats, and festivals, all designed to empower you to live your best life. Ready to start your adventure? Join us at www.queerquest.vip to become part of a movement towards personal and collective greatness. Sign up today to join the waitlist and be the first to know when we launch. QueerQuest, where your journey of self-discovery and transformation begins. Don't just dream of a life filled with pride and purpose, make it your reality with QueerQuest. Visit www.queerquest.vip now. Your quest awaits. All right, we are back with Will Ryan, and we've been having a very deep discussion here on all things related to drug use and our own journeys. And I wanted to kind of check in with you, and because we were just talking about, the symptoms and the cause and the effect. And I wanted to talk to you a bit about your own personal story and your own journey of, what you were struggling with, because you mentioned you struggle with self-esteem, self-worth. You've mentioned stuff about feeling like you were an outsider in your own family and whatnot. So I'd love for you to share a bit about your story, because I'm sure it's relatable to so many people who are going through similar things right now.
I wish it was more relatable, because I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to be 100%. So back in 2002, my 2 brothers were in the Bali bombing, which was Yeah. So when we actually found them alive, it was about getting them back into the country and getting them away from all of that harm, and then treating the trauma when they were here. So at the age of 15, I was dealing with the fact that my two brothers were in this huge international event catastrophe, and then getting them home and then caring for them, which meant changing their wounds, like wound care and stuff, and dealing with their night terrors and all of that stuff, as well as doing my year 10 exams and just trying to be a normal person.
Yeah.
But what that did is it actually cemented their bond closer and made my parents, favor them a bit more, which is understandable. Like, I get it. And I don't have any ill will towards my parents about that. I mean, I can get it. However, I'm just an afterthought with that because, I was just doing my thing. And so as those two got closer to mum and dad, I became even further in the shadow. And that's whatever. And that hurt. That hurts a lot still, but I understand it. And I think if I didn't understand it, I probably would get over it a lot more. But because I actually have the understanding of it's bigger than all of us, I'm a bit mad at that because I can't quite just get past it. You get angry, you yell, and you're over it. I don't get to sort of have that with this sort of situation. And so when they, going forward from that, they were in the media around Bali, everything Bali for the years after that. My brothers were all over. My eldest brother, Jake, he was stood up in the courtroom and told one of the bombers that he was an effing dog and he's effing going to die, and that was international news. And then we got $8,000 sent to our house because people wanted to buy Jake a beer, and that was cool.
Oh, wow.
But then it was a really and I am forever proud of my brothers for that. However, I feel on my side that there was not much. I always supported their stuff. I went to their footy matches, made banners, did orange slices, did the canteen, did all that stuff, just to sort of be there and, help them get their footy careers going, from the junior club. But getting them to come to one of my dance things or getting them to come to anything that was mine was an uphill battle. And I was constantly, especially when I started doing drag, I was meant to feel bad about a lot of the stuff I did. And it was just, I remember I posted photos of me in drag on Will's Facebook, and my brother called me up and he was so angry, and he goes, my friends are making fun of me, or you need to take those photos down. I said, first of all, you need to grow up here and actually stand up to your mates, because I don't think they're your mates if they're doing that. And two, if you posted your footy pics online, I would never tell you to take them down because I'm so proud of what you do, because that's who you are. It would be nice if you could extend me that courtesy, but since you can't, then I suggest you hang up the phone and we don't talk. So we didn't talk for 6 months. And thank God for his ex-girlfriend. She convinced him to talk to me and to make it right. Rocky. And then after that, the situation between my family and I was rocky at best, and at worst, absolute disaster. Just constant fighting and me begging to be understood and them not really wanting to meet me even halfway. It was just like, no, you want to be in the family, you fit in here. And for those of you who can't see me, I don't really blend that well. So fitting in has never been my strong suit. So that made it harder. Unfortunately, it was the year of 2017, and then my family went to the United States for Christmas and didn't tell me. They blocked me on social media so I couldn't see them, and they went and had their first happy family Christmas without me. That was one of the most painful moments of my life, and that caused me to increase my drug usage 20-fold. And because what's the point? My family didn't love me, and I didn't like me that much at that time, so what was the point?
Yeah.
That was really horrendous. I can't stress that enough. And for those of you out there who are going through something similar, please don't go through it yourself. Call someone, anyone, hell. Yeah, find my Instagram or find my email and
don't find more solace or solitude in the substance, whatever you choose, right? Like, find it.
You know it.
Yeah.
And then but it does get a little bit better in my story. So after that, I actually met one of the loves of my life. And we're not together anymore, unfortunately, but that it is what that is. But he took me around the world and showed me that I didn't have to survive. I could actually live and change my mindset. And he did. He really showed me that. And I'm so grateful for that. And his mum and his family became my family. I really had something good there. And then the lovely 2019 happened. And my eldest brother, Jake, was over in Sicily, and he was hit by a train. So here I am, 8 years estranged from my family, and getting this phone call from my father at 5:30 in the morning telling me that my brother was dead, and then being so numb, and then from that, just I had drugs. Yes, I had drugs, but nothing was making me feel anything. And I just wanted to feel something. I wanted to feel sad or angry or something, but no, I was just numb. And the main reason for that was because the last thing I said to my brother was, "I hate you." And we were having a fight, and I have to live with that for the rest of my life. And I don't think I can forgive myself for that. I will get past it, but I will never forgive myself for that because I just let everything go in anger, and that was silly. And now I can't take it back. But from that, Jake has, and this is going to sound silly for some people, but Jake, I still feel him around me. Like, in times where it's really, really difficult, I feel him around me, and I will talk to him. And whether I seem insane or not, I don't care. Like, it just makes me feel good. And it kind of makes me feel like I'm bridging that sort of connection we lost. But again, this is all just symptom on symptom on symptom, and about being neglected and not being good enough for my family and just being alone. And that's, a horrid feeling. So then, yes, drugs were a good outlet for that, and you feel good about myself and how I looked. All of a sudden I had drugs and I had men after me. Cool, done. I felt great. Then I came down. Did not feel so great then, because everything that I had just gone through with this man or men a couple of nights before was just a big lie. It was just fake.
It was a mask. Yeah, it was yeah.
And that's why I'm not on any of the apps. I went on Scruff recently, but I've not been on Scruff or BBIT or Grindr or anything like that for like 8 years. 8 years.
But is that because it was a part of that whole kind of puff and play, and it would be easy to get caught up into more drugs, and then the validation and the problems with how you feel about yourself and the ups and the downs? Is that a big reason why?
Yeah, the validation part, definitely. It was using men to validate my own existence and my own attractiveness, which is silly. I sort of had to learn that I am enough in myself, which I was never going to learn on those apps. And having people with just... Okay, people out there who use Grindr, sending someone an anus shot, first of all, before even hello, my name is not needed, necessary, or polite. Please stop doing it. Regards, everyone else. Like, please stop it. It's just, I don't want to see that when I want to say, hello, how are you? And then all of a sudden, oh, there it is. And you just want to have a nice conversation with someone. But then it does turn into, well, why don't you come over? Oh, I hope it's okay. I'm wired. Or, You can puff and play, or do you want to have a slam or whatever? And that's like ringing a dinner bell. You're like, yeah, all right, yeah, let's do that, because this I've never, because you forget almost instantly that you've had bad experiences. Like, yeah, all right, yeah, this will be good, this will be fine. He's another guy that says this and this and this about me. Of course it's true. He's not after the drugs with me, or he likes me for me, as you hope that he does. And then in the end, you are going home and you feel a little worse for wear because you realize that it wasn't real, and that you actually realized this before you got there. And that was a big thing. And again, having the self-esteem and the self-image that I had, having such low self-image, being on those things is no good for my mental health. It is judgmental, harsh, and I get it. You put yourself out there, you get the smack down, and you have to deal with that. I was a dancer for many years. I get it. You put yourself out there, you wear it. But as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that getting up from a knockdown is getting harder to do. Everything feels more personal and pointed and judgmental and harsh, and not from a place of genuine critique or constructive criticism, but just a put down, usually to make someone else feel better about themselves. And I just want anybody out there that's struggling with that, really, 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 I know it feels lonely. Believe me, I know it feels really lonely. But when you actually can sit in a room by yourself and be with yourself and sit there comfortably, wherever you belong, but just comfortably, you will realize that you've learned something about yourself. And until you do that, those apps, websites, whatever, can be a real minefield for your self-esteem and self-worth and mental health. Just have a think about that.
Oh, and I think so many people will probably go through that in our community, because it really is a mind fuck,
And some.
So Will, talk to us about how you would say, your struggles with drug use, substance abuse have impacted your life, struggles with your living situations, with relationships, with jobs, like what's the impact been for you?
Okay, so I want to say that I'm not for abstinence personally. That is just my ideological outlook. For me, abstinence does not work. But control and measured and thoughtful usage is where I am at. Because I don't drink, I don't smoke cigarettes, I don't gamble. I have a vice. So sue me. However, what having that vice has done for me, it has given me some of the most amazing experiences and some of the most terrifyingly, awful experiences. For example, I get to go and advocate and speak to politicians and people of influence and power about drug law reform and about drug safety and all that kind of stuff, using my lived and living experience, which I'm very, very proud of all the work I do with advocacy. Yeah. I really am. However, on the flip side of that, you have moments like when I went to hospital with COVID and kidney stones, and I was refused pain medicine because I have a drug history on my file. Now, as I banged on the wall, because I could hear them through the walls, and I'm screaming, and anybody who's had kidney stones out there will tell you, it is the worst pain you've ever experienced. And I was literally screaming through the wall and banging on the wall, pleading with the nursing staff to please look at my files, because you'll see I like uppers, not downers. Please make the pain stop. And they didn't. For 15 hours, I was in a bed, screaming in agony, and I was just left with that because of my drug history. And the real kicker about that is, I had my phone charger with me, so I just live streamed the whole 15 hours, so everyone could see how barbaric I was treated. And that is how I got put up to the Quality and Treatment Panel for New South Wales Health Quality and Treatment Panel, because I actually represent consumers. Now, deal with this. And so I don't want anyone else to ever go through that. So again, if you've had something go bad, email me, let me know. But again, so for me, it ebbs and flows. The bad stuff, yeah, there's been a lot. But the good stuff has made me actually, I've toured the world dancing and I've lived my dream by the age of 24. And I'm so lucky to do that and have had that. But what I'm doing now, helping people, this is the first time I've ever been really proud of what I'm doing, happy with what I'm doing. And it means something, not just to me, but it can actually help others, help other people struggling with their mindsets, their day-to-days, oh my God, this guy can relate to me. Thank God I'm not alone. Because that is a real powerful thing. And yeah, and you touched on it quickly, the living situations that I had. So I had what I'm assuming what you're referring to is my last year of homelessness. So I was homeless for 11 months last year, and that was awful. I experienced a lot of hardship, and it was terrible. But here I am now. See, like a cockroach, can't kill me. But surviving that has taught me and shown me that what I can handle and what I will handle and what I'm going to be handling from now on. And I need to pass that knowledge on, because if I don't, it was all for nothing. And I won't have that. And just to be very, very clear with everyone, I was not homeless for drugs. I was homeless because of a greedy landlord. I was paying $760 a fortnight, and they wanted to up it to $1,000 a week. No one could afford that, unless, you're a Reinhardt, and I'm not. And so, and then I was homeless, and during a rental crisis and a cost of living crisis, and all of a sudden, I am in a park sleeping, and then I'm in homeless shelters and just trying to survive. And most people out there are 1 or 2 paychecks away from being in that situation themselves, because it's just so dire at the moment. But on the plus side of that, if they could call this a plus side, I survived. And I survived because I had people like you, Christiana, who actually dared to stick your head above the parapet and go, "Oh, are you all right?" And I was suspicious, and I was scared, and I was angry because, I'm just using you as an example, but I was so, here's this guy who doesn't really know me that well, being so lovely. What's he want? What's he gonna, he's gonna fuck me around or fuck me over somehow. I'm sure he will. So what does he want? And realistically, that wasn't you. You were just genuinely saying, "Hey, how you doing? You okay?" And again, I'm so grateful for that. But a lot of people in my situation wouldn't have that. And people think they've got a chip on their shoulder, but you would too when you go through such a dehumanizing thing such as losing your home, and then services that are there aren't very helpful. In fact, they're more of a hindrance. And the thing is, you go into a place like DCJ or the Department of Corrections and Housing and Justice, and you put someone who is in a drug-induced psychosis next to someone who's in a crisis response, you won't be able to tell the difference between the two of them. They both present the same way: anxious, jittery, eyes as big as the sun, constantly looking around, chewing on their fingernails like they're Twinkies. Like, those are the same things, two very different diagnoses. And the thing is, we all just say, "Oh, obviously he's on drugs." Now, I went to GCJ when I was actually completely sober and very panicked out of a traumatic incident that I just lived through. And I was instantly labeled someone who was intoxicated and therefore wasn't worthy of help, when I actually was not intoxicated at all. And in fact, I was just about to opt out of living, and I was not present in my own body. I was just going through motions. And that, thank God, I had someone call me and snap me out of that, because going into a place like DCJ at that point in time is so dehumanizing and soul destroying. that to go and ask them for help after you've already been tarred with this brush that isn't remotely accurate, why would you go back? It's not good for you. And it wasn't good for me. And I guarantee you, it nearly killed me. And this is one of the things I'm actually working on right now. I wish to change that. And I am going to change that. And you'll see. I'm working real hard on it.
I believe in it. I believe in you. So yeah, keep going with that, Will.
Thanks.
A couple of final questions for you. So you've mentioned again that you don't believe in abstinence, that it's in controlled use. In your life right now, how often would you say that you continue to use? Is it a rarity? Is it a once a month, once a fortnight? And of course, sure, it's probably not always the same, but is it a constant in your life at the moment?
I mean, it's constant in that I have it fortnightly. So I have it after I paid all my bill. So I paid my rent, I paid my food, I paid my internet, I paid for all the services I use. And then what's left over is mine. It's my party stuff. And, sometimes it's a good fortnight and sometimes it's a lean fortnight. But it's still, I earned that. And, working in advocacy, especially when I'm currently unemployed, but still doing so much for the community and not really getting any money for it or anything. I mean, I don't really care about that. It'd be nice to live off something, sure, but I know that I'm doing good work that actually makes a difference for people's lives. But the party aspect of it and the frequency is definitely a lot less than what it was when I first started. You said it before, actually, you go on the weekend, and then all of a sudden, the weekend isn't Friday to Sunday. The weekend starts becoming Thursday to Monday. And then, then it blows out. And that's when I sort of realized, all right, let's get some clean time up because no one thinks I can do it. And I'm starting to think I can't do it. So then I did it. 90 days. What a boring thing that was for me. Because I was expecting that to make me happy. That was the silver bullet for all my problems. I get clean, I then get my family back, and I get happy. That was the plan. That is not what happened. I got clean, I got miserable, and no one was proud of me, no one came back to me, and no one cared. So, other than doing it for myself, which I'll be honest, I didn't want to really, why did I do it? Well, to show myself that I could, to show everyone else that I could, and just to feel a bit spiteful that way. But it was very just, I don't need anyone else doubting me. I doubt myself enough, and my family doubt me enough for everyone. So I just wanted to show everyone that I could do it. But without actually treating the symptom of why I was using drugs, which was family abandonment, neglect, trauma, without actually addressing any of that, it was all for nothing. I wasn't happy. And so that's when I started to actually look at my usage in a more pragmatic and holistic way. And that's why I would use more in certain weeks than others. In particular, and just use this as an example, October, the second week of October, from October 12th to October 14th, is the worst week for me. I hate it so much. It's my brother's death anniversary, the Bali bombing anniversary, and my sexual assault anniversary in 3 days in a row. And so it's a rough couple of days. So my usage skyrockets simply because I have night terrors and I don't want to have them. It's too much.
You want to avoid the thoughts and the stuff that's going through that around those dates, yeah.
So stay awake, which is not great, but it works for a few days. Then you sleep and then it, sort of back down to normal, which is fine. But when you are talking about abstinence or controlled usage or whatever it may be, and it's important that everyone out there realizes this, that it is your choice and it is your journey and you are the one who's in control. If you are doing it for someone else or because you believe you should, those are two different things. If, and I mean, and Christiana, you and I have very different views on this subject, and I know we do, but it doesn't make either one of our sides less valid. And that's important to know. And I think one thing that we can both agree on, that no matter what side of the coin we're on, we can both agree that we don't want to see anyone in our community be harmed any more than they need to be. And this is one of those conversations where we have to sort of have that uncomfortable sitting down, talk about it, because not talking about it is where we're at now. And where we're at now, it's not a good place to be. We need to start actually looking at ourselves, why we use drugs, and actually reevaluate our relationship with drugs. And more importantly, we actually have to respect drugs. Drugs are a very important part of our society, have been for thousands of years. I would hate to think of anyone getting a dental surgery or a back surgery without anesthetic. That would suck. And, not to mention spiritual healings and trauma-assisted therapies like ayahuasca and the now MDMA treatments that are coming through Melbourne. World first, I might add. Melbourne leading the way. Well done. Those things are incredibly important and incredibly amazing. And a lot of them come from our own planet. That's incredible. So using drugs in a positive way is fundamental part of society. We've had it for thousands of years. Saying no to drugs or just saying, you don't want any overdoses, don't do drugs, is not helpful to no one, and it's counterproductive. Like, I have constantly a little Narcan or naloxone pen. Naloxone is a treatment that you put one spray up the nose and it brings someone back from a heroin overdose instantly. It's amazing to watch. And it takes no time. And once you do it, you call an ambulance and they're good to go. But it's little things like that where we can look after each other. Now, I've never done heroin. Well, not for me. Don't want it. Doesn't mean that I can't help someone who's having a real hard time to not die. And put my own feelings towards heroin, which are not nice. Putting my own feelings aside about that and actually doing what's right, because the person in front of me who's unconscious is a person. They have a family, they have friends, and they have people who love them, and they deserve to be back with them. So that was my little rant. Sorry about that, everyone.
I'm very sorry, and I appreciate you for ranting and for sharing today, for coming on the podcast and sharing your journey, sharing your perspectives, sharing what you're doing, and advocating for these things as well, because there's important topics to discuss. So I honor you for coming on here, and for everyone out there listening, no matter where you are in your journey, if you're struggling or you're in a good place with it, or you're just curious, you might know someone who's struggling, I think this is something for you to take note of. Maybe this is the episode that you share with someone who really needs to hear this as well. And sometimes you being the person to tell them isn't always the right way. So hearing an episode like this might be the thing that sparks someone to think differently about where they're at. So appreciate you, Will, for coming on here and sharing your story.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for having me and being so open and I guess receptive to my ideas and my thoughts. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. And for everyone out there, where can they find you, Will, if someone did have a question to connect with you?
Please, you can find me on Instagram at _Lil_Woo. I'm sure we can put that link in the description.
I know the link in the description.
Or feel free to email me at willhodgesryan@outlook.com. Whatever your questions are, I would be happy to help out.
Beautiful. Fantastic. All right. Thanks for coming on, Will. And for everyone else, I'll be back next week with a brand new episode of the Queer Quest podcast. Until then, always remember that you've got this and I've got you. Bye for now. Are you ready to embark on a transformative journey towards love and happiness? Introducing the 21-day Gay Man's Guide to Love and Happiness. This isn't just a course, it's a pathway to discovering your true self, overcoming challenges, and embracing happiness. Join hundreds of gay men who found joy and freedom. Learn from Christiana Green, a coach with 20 years experience and a journey like yours. For a limited time, get this life-changing course at 75% off with a 100% risk-free guarantee. There's nothing to lose, but so much to gain. Your new life is just a click away. Enroll in the 21-day Gay Man's Guide to Love and Happiness today. Visit theglobalpridecollective.com and start your journey towards a happier, more fulfilled you.